All right, let's get real for a second. When you picture a modern factory, what do you see?
Hmm.
I mean, if you watch the commercials, it's this pristine, white-walled ballet.
Yeah, robots moving in perfect sync, soft blue lighting everywhere.
Exactly. It looks like the bridge of a starship.
Yeah.
But if you've actually worked in manufacturing or walked a factory floor, you know that is, well, it's a fantasy.
Oh, it's loud. It probably smells like coolant, and
Yeah.
there's just this frantic energy that never really stops.
It's controlled chaos. It's thousands of moving parts, supply chains that can snap because of a storm 3 continents away. And, somewhere in a back office, there is a manager absolutely drowning in what I call spreadsheet hell.
That is the reality for 90% of the industry. You realize pretty quickly you're not managing a product, you're managing entropy. Things just want to fall apart.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We're looking at a stack of documentation for OptiForge, a manufacturing ERP from Krupaya Technologies. And I'll be honest, right out of the gate, my guard is up, way up.
I noticed that. You were sighing pretty heavily while you were reading the intro packet.
Well, yeah, because I've been burned. We've all seen these comprehensive solutions before. They promise to be the silver bullet, the end-to-end fix. But usually, comprehensive is just code for bloated. You spend 2 years trying to implement it, and you end up with a system that requires a PhD just to order a box of screws.
It's a fair criticism.
So my question is simple. Is OptiForge actually a lifeline for that drowning manager, or is it just more expensive digital noise?
And that is the right place to start. And look, I share some of that skepticism because Industry 4.0 and AI get thrown around like confetti these days. But digging into the OptiForge architecture, I think there's something different happening here.
Okay.
They're not just trying to, digitize the paper forms you have on clipboards. They seem to be trying to fundamentally change how the factory thinks.
How the factory thinks. That sounds nice on a brochure, but what does that actually mean? Because if it means I have to learn a new interface for HR and another one for inventory and another for production, I'm checking out.
That is the complexity trap. And that is where these systems usually fail user fatigue. But OptiForge attacks this with what they call a unified user experience.
Meaning?
The core idea is that the software shouldn't look the same to everyone.
Okay, unpack that, because usually software is static. You get what you get.
Well, think of it this way. If I'm the CEO, what do I care about? High-level revenue, global production trends, maybe major supply chain risks?
You don't care that Machine 4 needs a new filter?
Exactly. But if I'm the floor manager, that filter's the only thing I care about. So OptiForge uses role-based, personalized views. The dashboard literally changes based on who logs in.
So it filters out the noise. Because that's my biggest gripe with these cockpit dashboards. They look cool, they have 1,000 dials, but you can't find the one piece of data you actually need.
Right. And if you look at the source material, their unified dashboard is surprisingly disciplined. It's got these module cards with live counts. So you get real-time KPIs, orders, revenue, production status, but only the ones that matter to you.
I see this one-click navigation mentioned here too. That's a bold claim. Access to 16 plus modules in one click.
The philosophy seems to be clarity over clutter. They want you to spend your time making decisions, not hunting for features. In a factory, hesitation costs money.
Clarity is great, I'll give you that, but clarity doesn't pay the bills. Sales do. And this is where I usually roll my eyes. I saw the section on CRM and AI-led scoring.
Yeah.
Every CRM on the planet claims to be smart now. Is this just a digital Rolodex with a fancy name?
I thought the same thing. I really did until I looked at the data processing. It's not just listing contacts. OptiForge's CRM uses AI-powered intelligence to actually score the probability of a deal closing.
How specific are we talking?
Very. In one of the case studies, the system didn't just say hot lead. It said 78% conversion probability. And this is the kicker. It gave an estimated time to convert. It predicted the client would sign in 14 days.
Okay, hold on. That changes the dynamic entirely. Instead of a sales manager just yelling, make more calls, you can actually prioritize.
You can tell your team, ignore the 20% leads for now. Focus on the 78% guys. They're ready to buy in 2 weeks.
It's like a bouncer for your sales pipeline.
It is. It keeps the time wasters out so your team can focus on real buyers. It even recommends next steps, like schedule a product demo within 3 days.
That sounds great for the sales team, but here's the nightmare scenario I've lived through. The sales guy, let's call him Slick, promises a client the moon. Oh, sure, we can build that custom widget for $5 by Tuesday.
He signs the deal. High fives, everyone.
And then engineering looks at the order and realizes it costs $10 to make and takes 3 weeks, so the company loses money on every single unit. How does OptiForge stop Slick from bankrupting the factory?
That's the classic friction point, isn't it? Sales versus engineering. OptiForge handles this by linking the bill of quantities, the BOQ, directly to estimation.
So the sales guy can't just make up a number.
He literally can't. When he starts building the quote, the system pulls real data. It calculates current material costs, actual labor rates, overhead. It creates a seamless workflow from BOQ to quotation.
So if the price of steel went up yesterday, the system knows that today.
Yes, and it flags it. It prevents that underpricing nightmare because the quote is built on reality, not just a sales target. Plus, it has version control.
Oh, that's important.
So when the client changes their mind 5 times, you're not digging through emails for final v2.pdf. You have a clear history.
That whole order-to-invoice workflow sounds critical. It forces the sales team to deal with the real world before they sign the contract.
It connects the promise to the execution.
Yeah.
And speaking of execution, once that order is signed, the real headache is just starting on the floor. Now we have to build the thing.
And this is the part of the documentation that felt the most sci-fi to me. The digital twin.
This is, in my opinion, the strongest part of the whole CrewPy Technologies offering.
But is it real? I mean, I have a twin in my factory. It sounds like a gimmick, something a consultant sells you and then you never actually use it.
I get that.
Does a 3D model of my floor actually help me make widgets, or does it just look cool in the lobby?
It helps you make widgets because it lets you see the invisible. The digital twin visualization creates a live 3D view of your factory floor. You can see active equipment, say 45 out of 52 machines are running, and you can see exactly where your assets are.
So I don't have to walk out to zone 3 to see if the CNC machine is on.
You can see it from your desk.
Yeah.
But the real power is in the what-if simulations.
Okay.
Let's say you get a massive new order and you need to squeeze in a new assembly line. In the old world, you might physically move heavy machinery around and then realize, oops, the forklift can't fit through that gap.
And you've just lost 2 days of production and paid a crew to move heavy iron for nothing.
Right. With a digital twin, you simulate that move virtually first. You spot the bottleneck in the software, not on the floor where it costs you real money.
I can see the ROI on that. But what about the day-to-day? Machines break. People call in sick.
Of course. That brings us to real-time OEE monitoring.
Okay, we need to break that acronym down. People toss OEE around, and I think half of them don't know what it means.
OEE is overall equipment effectiveness. Think of it like a health score for a machine. It combines 3 things: availability, performance, and quality.
So availability is, did you show up to work?
Right. Was the machine running when it was supposed to be? Performance is, did you work fast enough?
Was it running at full speed or limping along?
Exactly. And quality is, did you do a good job? Did it make good parts or scrap?
Got it. So you could have a machine that's running all day, great availability, but it's producing junk, terrible quality. The OEE score would tank.
Spot on. OptiForge gives you a live OEE monitor. You're not guessing. You see the numbers. Availability 89.8%, performance 90.4%, quality 94.2%.
But again, I'm the skeptic. Seeing the number is nice, but by then I'm already in trouble. Does the system tell me before the machine breaks?
That is the so what moment. It's all about anomaly detection. It doesn't just report history, it monitors for weird behavior in the present. The source material highlights alerts like a safety interlock trigger or a vibration anomaly.
What? A vibration anomaly? That's the predictive stuff.
Exactly. A motor doesn't just die instantly. Usually it starts vibrating a little differently 3 days before it fails. A human might not hear it, but the sensors do. OptiForge flags that.
So I get an alert saying, check the bearing on line 2. I can fix it during a lunch break for $50.
Instead of the machine exploding 3 days later, shutting down the line for a week and costing you $50,000, it's the whole shift from reactive to predictive maintenance.
That's the difference between a profitable quarter and a disaster. But there's always a but. A factory isn't an island. If the truck with the raw materials doesn't show up, you're just standing around.
Very true. How does OptiForge handle the supply chain mess we all live in? They have a resilience and sustainability dashboard. And I love the word resilience here because that's what modern supply chains lack.
They are so fragile.
Extremely. OptiForge calculates a resilience score. In the data we saw, it showed a 78% score, and it highlights active risk alerts, things like low stock or a delay on a delivery from a vendor.
So it's a warning light for your incoming materials.
And it helps you weed out the bad actors. They use AI-powered vendor scorecards. It rates your suppliers on delivery, quality, compliance. If a vendor's consistently 2 days late, the AI flags it.
That is huge because usually you just have a guy in purchasing who says, I like Bob, Bob's a good guy. But the data might show that Bob is actually costing you money every single week.
It moves procurement from gut feeling to data-driven. And you mentioned sustainability. OptiForge tracks carbon footprint and energy consumption right alongside the financial data.
Is that just for PR? Look how green we are.
For some, maybe. But for most manufacturers now, this is about business continuity. If you want to bid on government contracts or work with major multinationals, you have to prove your eco-compliance.
If you can't generate that report, you don't even get to bid.
Exactly. OptiForge bakes that tracking into daily operations, so it's not a scramble at the end of the year.
It's amazing how much stuff is involved now. It used to be cut metal, weld metal, ship metal. Now it's carbon tracking, predictive vibration analysis, AI vendor scoring.
It is complex, and that's why comprehensive is really the only way to go. If you tried to do this with 5 different pieces of software, you'd be back in spreadsheet hell trying to bridge the gaps.
But we haven't even touched on the boring stuff yet, and I call it boring, but it's the stuff that shuts you down if you get it wrong. Like, where's the inventory? Who's getting paid?
We have to weave that in. For inventory management, it's not just counting boxes. OptiForge uses ABCXYZ analysis.
Okay, that sounds like alphabet soup. Translate that.
It classifies items by value and volatility. Class A items are your high-value stuff, like expensive steel sheets. You want just enough to keep working, but not so much that you tie up all your cash.
Right, because inventory on a shelf is just piles of cash you can't use.
Precisely. OptiForge helps you watch the Class A items like a hawk. And then there's cross-project dependencies.
Which solves the robbing Peter to pay Paul problem.
Yes. It stops you from accidentally using the steel meant for Project X to finish Project Y.
And HR, please tell me it handles payroll.
It does. HR and payroll is integrated. It handles statutory compliance, PF, ESI, TDS, and automates the payroll runs.
And finally, once the product is built, packed, and shipped, does the software just wave goodbye?
No, because the relationship doesn't end at the loading dock. After sales service is built right in.
That's huge for protecting the brand.
It is. They have live SLA tracking service level agreements. If a client logs a ticket, a clock starts ticking on the dashboard. It even handles technician routing, sending the closest qualified tech to fix the problem.
So it closes the loop. From the very first lead in the CRM through the, quote, the build, the shipping, and the repair. It's all one data stream.
That is the end-to-end promise.
Okay. I have to admit, I started this deep dive thinking OptiForge was just another complexity trap. A system so big it would crush the people trying to use it. But I think I'm realizing something.
What's that?
The complexity isn't the software. The complexity is the factory itself.
That's the key insight. The factory is complex whether you use software or not. The entropy is always there. The question is, do you want to manage that with 100 disconnected spreadsheets and phone calls, or with a system that wraps its arms around the whole thing?
And that's the verdict, isn't it? The complexity of OptiForge is actually hidden behind the intelligence. The software is doing the heavy lifting so the human doesn't have to.
Right. It's analyzing vibration data so you don't have to listen to the motor. It's scoring leads so you don't have to guess who to call. By integrating everything, Krupp Technologies has created a system where the factory essentially talks to itself.
And that lets the humans actually be humans, to make strategic decisions, not just act as data entry clerks trying to keep up.
That is the ultimate goal of Industry 4.0. Not to replace the human, but to give the human a clearer, undistorted view of reality.
Well, looking at OptiForge, that reality looks pretty clear. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a thought, a bit of a provocation.
That me.
We talked about the digital twin, this virtual factory that runs parallel to the real one. It knows where every screw is. It knows when a bearing will fail before it happens. It can simulate the future.
It's a powerful tool.
It is. But think about this. If your factory has a digital twin that holds all the knowledge, all the optimization, and all the foresight, at what point does the software become more valuable than the machinery itself?
Wow.
I mean, if the twin is the brain and the factory is just the body, could you delete the factory and rebuild it from the software? But if you deleted the software, could the factory even function?
That is a very expensive philosophical question.
Yeah.
You're asking if the map has become more important than the territory.
Something to mull over while you're checking your OEE stats and trying to stay out of spreadsheet hell. Thanks for listening to this deep dive on OptiForge.
See you on the next one.